Hey there! Welcome back to another video. This time it is another episode of Talking Cinema, the show where I talk movie news, trailers, upcoming DVD, Blu-ray releases, just share my thoughts on a lot of different things movie related. Now, I haven't done one of these in a bit. I think I did one, what was it, a couple weeks ago, if not more than that. And over that span, there's been a ton of trailers that have come out that I've yet to give my thoughts on, as well as some new upcoming DVD and Blu-ray releases that definitely are quite interesting and I'm looking forward to, and some bits of movie news that are kind of interesting, and some of them are quite frustrating, to be honest. But there are some that are like, okay, that sounds intriguing, and I want to give my thoughts on those. So I'm gonna do that as quickly as I possibly can, but I'm not making any guarantees because that's how it is. I get going, and it gets hard. It's hard for me to stop the roll that I'm on. So hope you enjoy it, no matter how long this video is. And let's get started. I'm actually gonna go a little bit further back, and I'm going to start with the Super Bowl spots. The first one I want to talk about is the Super Bowl trailer for Hobbs and Shaw. I really liked it. It looked and felt like a throwback action film from the 90s. I liked Statham and The Rock in the Fast and Furious films anyway, so I really do feel that this has a lot of potential to be quite a bit of fun. Now, I know that there's been like Fast and the Furious fans who have been giving the trailer shit because it's like a comic book and it's unrealistic and Idris Elba's got superpowers. And for me, I'm like, forgive my cat, he's excited apparently too. Really? You're complaining about realism? You're complaining about the lack of realism in a Fast and the Furious spinoff? Like, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Give me a fucking break. Like, seriously, that's absurd. Like, of all the things to complain about, give me a break. Idris Elba, I like him. I think he has potential to be a pretty solid villain. There's a lot of practical stunt work in the trailer. And The Rock and Statham have great chemistry. They've shown it in their bits and in their roles in the Fast and the Furious sequels before this. So, yeah. Usually I'm not really that psyched about a film starring The Rock because he seems to just be a... I don't know. To me, I think he's just kind of... He's not kind of. He is. He's whoring himself out. He's taking whatever project he can get, and he's become a mockery, if you ask me. He's become an absolute joke, especially when it comes to films where he's featured in a jungle. Like, The Rock has been in so many movies where he's been in a jungle that you might as well call him Jungle Jim. And my cat agrees too, because he's jumping up there as if it's a jungle gym. So yeah, you might as well be called Jungle Jim. Or Pitfall Harry. When is The Rock going to do the Pitfall movie? I guarantee if there's a Pitfall movie, The Rock's name is going to be brought up. And I wouldn't be surprised if he took it. I mean, he's doing the Jungle Cruise, for fuck's sake. It's almost like he knows. It's almost like he knows that people are like, hey, Rock, you're doing too many jungle movies. And he's like taking these roles on purpose to fuck with people. I mean, well, what is going on here? I don't understand it. The Rock, he used to be like legitimately super cool in WWE in the Attitude Era, and I liked his work early on, even in films like Walking Tall, which barely nobody talks about. But lately, he's just become a caricature of himself, and it's just being lazy. He's just doing shit behind a green screen, not really putting that much effort into his roles. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm not looking forward to Jungle Cruise. And I'm really not looking forward to much else that The Rock is doing other than Hobbs and Shaw, because that's where he gets to be the kick-ass character that he was and what made him famous. The reason why he's a household name is because of wrestling, because of his ass-kicking persona. And I just feel that that persona seems to be less and less prevalent in a lot of his films lately. He tries, but it doesn't come across the same way. It comes across as inauthentic. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Hobbs and Shaw. That's honestly my, probably say my favorite Super Bowl spot. Because the others were just not really that impressive to me. Wonder Park looks like a generic movie that, why is this coming out in theaters? This is like a direct-to-video film. Captain Marvel, I don't really care about it. Harder, faster, stronger. What is this? The Captain Marvel remix of the Daft Punk song? Harder, better, faster, stronger. I mean, what the fuck? I don't like the advertising for Captain Marvel. I like Brie Larson. Unlike some people who like to give her shit for not showing any emotion, I actually don't mind her. I loved her in Kong Skull Island, and I think she's a decent she's a solid actress. I'm just not that interested in the character, and I'm worried that it's going to be some overpowered character that's going to overshadow the rest of the heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that seems like what it's going to be, because they're calling her for help to fight Thanos. And it's just one of those things where she just kind of comes out of nowhere. This is like, what, the fourth phase of the MCU, and now you have this character who is completely out of the blue, who's like the strongest character in the universe. And I really do feel they're leaning too much on the gender of Captain Marvel for the marketing, and Disney is doing what they've always done and what they will continue to do. They find a formula, and then they milk that until it runs completely dry. And they're doing that with the MCU, which I'm starting to get tired of. I gotta be honest. And then they're doing that with the marketing for Captain Marvel. They're trying to make it as if it's some big event. Like, it's not a motion picture, it's a movement. And I'm not really too keen on that. And I guarantee it's so Disney and Marvel and other people involved with the film can point to that as if, oh, it's not a movie, it's a movement for women, for girls. And whenever a critic says that the movie isn't that good or they didn't like it, they can point, well, you're just sexist. It's so they can have that cop out, so they can have that out. Just like they did with Black Panther. Black Panther's just it's not just a movie, it's not just a motion picture, it's a movement. They did that with Black Panther, and there were a lot of people who did get a lot of shit for not loving Black Panther or saying it's some revolutionary film. So they're going to do that with Captain Marvel, where they're going to do the same thing. So, and Brie Larson is already taking out certain people from the pool of critics and reporters to interview her and to be sent to the screening. And interestingly enough, they're all white people. I get having diversity. I get it. I understand that. I get giving critics who don't get the rub and don't get the chances, who are in the minorities, a shot. I understand that. But completely erasing white people from the docket, I don't think that's okay either. Because that's not true equality. That's my problem here. That's not actual diversity. You know, actual diversity is not every other race except white people. Like, that's not really what diversity is. So that just have an issue with that, and with the marketing, with everything, you know, I've seen with this film. And Disney clearly does not have that much faith in Brie Larson, because there's a giant standee of just a fucking cat wearing sunglasses in theaters right now. Yeah, because they're like, oh look, it's a cute kitty cat. So it's one of those things. It's like, come on. I mean, it's got the. It's just a cat wearing sunglasses. That's your marketing. It's your marketing campaign for Captain Marvel. Since when has that ever happened before with the Marvel film, where you have a poster and a standee that doesn't even feature the hero, doesn't even feature the lead on the standee? It features some side character. That has never happened before. So you could tell that Disney is struggling with getting a wide appeal with this character, because if they did not have any issues with getting a wide appeal with Captain Marvel, they would not be putting up a giant freaking cat. They would not be doing that. So they're trying to manipulate their audience a different way by trying to be, look, cute kitty cat, go see the movie to see the cat. And I'm getting sick of that cat already. I really am. Like, I don't care. What is it? Squishy, Squiggles, whatever their fucking name is. I don't give a shit. I see enough cats as it is. I have 2 of them. I don't need to go see Captain Marvel to see a cat. So the other spot, of course, that people were talking about was Avengers Endgame. I don't care. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked by that. I still haven't seen Infinity War. And you know why? Because I'm not really that interested in seeing it. I just feel burned out by the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. I'm burned out by their phases. I know that Endgame is going to be not only an endgame for a certain decade or series of Marvel films, but it's also going to be the endgame for beloved characters like Captain America, Iron Man, maybe even Thor. I would not be shocked at all if they all die. And then we're left with Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Winter Soldier, maybe Falcon, and what's her name? There's Black Widow. I wouldn't be surprised if she got killed either. Hawkeye's probably gonna die. And then you got like Scarlet Witch, who probably will carry on the mantle. It's just one of those things, like, I don't really see the new Avengers to be anywhere near as interesting or as captivating or as worth watching as the originals. Just me personally. I think Avengers Endgame is going to be the end of an era. I talked about it before, and I strongly still believe that. It's going to be the end of an era for the MCU. And I do feel that there's going to start to be diminishing returns after this film is released. Because you're going to have fans who started with Iron Man who are going to start to lose interest in the MCU because it's starting to get stale. And you're already starting to see that a little bit. And then the characters that they love, they're not going to be a part of the franchise anymore. So they're not going to be as interested in it. I guarantee I'm not going to be that interested without Chris Evans as Captain America, or Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, or Chris Hemsworth as Thor. I'm not going to be that interested in the franchise if those characters are gone. I like Doctor Strange. I didn't mind. I mean, Chadwick Boseman was okay as Black Panther. He was better in Civil War than he was in Black Panther. But I don't mind him. I like Anthony Mackie as Falcon. I like Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. But it's just one of those things where I just don't. I'm not that keen on Bucky becoming Captain America. I'm not that keen on Captain Marvel right now, and I haven't seen the film, but it just seems like Brie Larson, maybe she's miscast for the role. Like, she's a fine actress, but maybe she's just not right for this particular role. And I don't really care about any of the other upcoming Marvel films. I don't care about a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 without James Gunn's involvement. I really don't give a shit. So it's just one of those things where I'm not as psyched or as hyped for Marvel films like I used to be. I think it's because it's oversaturation at this point. There's 4 phases now. There's over 20 films. I mean, every franchise gets burnout. And I personally am burned out with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you're not, that's fine. I have no issue with that. But I'm personally burned out with it. I really don't see that much in the franchise that I've seen lately, even in films that I liked, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, that really get me to keep coming back for more, like a lot of it does for a lot of people. I'd rather give a shot to something that's lesser known or something that isn't going to get as much hype. But that's just me personally. So, yeah, I wasn't impressed with Endgame. I mean, what's so impressive about it? Like, really, what was so impressive about the TV spot? All it is, we're getting ready. We're not giving up. Just some cliched fucking lines and Avengers, like, preparing for something. That's all it was. Like, it's nothing. The Alita Battle Angel spot, it was there. That movie looks visually worthwhile, but in terms of other elements, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I want to see that in the theater just yet, but because I really did like Battle Angel, the OVA, but I don't know. I think I'll wait till home video to see that. Toy Story 4, we don't need a fourth Toy Story. This little clip proved it to me. It wasn't funny, and it wasn't really an actual trailer. It was just a clip from the film. It did nothing for me. And the only other thing about the Super Bowl spots that I thought was worth mentioning, that I think is worth mentioning, is the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark spots. I really like those. I'm really curious about this. I love horror anthologies. And Del Toro's involved with this. And I remember reading those Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books when I was a kid. And the scariest thing about them was the illustrations. And in these little clips, these little TV spots, a lot of them are genuinely coming to life in a really terrifying way. And I'm really excited because it doesn't seem like it's that much CGI. It's done mostly practical, and that really excites me. So I'm waiting for a longer trailer before I get really excited for it, but I'm really glad that it's going to be a horror anthology. And it's not going to be like what Goosebumps was, which was just Jumanji with horror with Goosebumps characters. I'm so glad it went back to the roots and it's like, no, this is what this series is. This series is short horror stories. This is not some other film with other elements from the franchise tossed in. No. I love that it's sticking to its guns, and it's like, nope, this is an anthology. Now we get to some more trailers. Shaft, which, why is this? Because originally it was called Son of Shaft, if I remember correctly. And that's fine. I mean, that makes more sense. Just calling it Shaft is lazy. This is going to be the third film with the name Shaft. I guess the producers were like, well, it worked for Halloween last year. Let's do it here with Shaft. But, like, that was stupid for Halloween, too. Why do we have to have these new installments in these franchises just have the same name as the original film? Like, that is the laziest shit. I mean, come on. Show some effort. Come up with a subtitle. Like, really. I mean, if you ask me, from the looks of this trailer, it should just be called Shafted. Because that's what the audience is going to be when they decide to pay to see this movie. They're going to get shafted. Because, yes, you have Richard Roundtree and you have Samuel L. Jackson, but you have Jesse Usher, who can't act worth a shit, who is an absolute pathetic excuse of an actor. I'm sorry. I'm not taking that back. I saw him in Independence Day Resurgence. The same thing is on display here. He acts like he's a fucking 12-year-old. I'm supposed to buy that this guy is the son of Shaft? He's a nerdy loser. And he has no genuine charisma. He has no charisma. He can't act. He can't be badass. It comes across as a comedy. Like, what's the point of that? What's the point of taking Shaft and turning it into a comedy? You have Richard Roundtree, who's reprising his role, I guess, and then you have Sam Jackson, who looks like he's having fun, but he's not going to save the film. The action looks lame and tame, and then, to make matters worse, you got Tim Story directing it, who did the Fantastic Four films before the Josh Trank film, which I'm sorry, I will take the Josh Trank film over both of them any day of the week, but that's just me personally. And he doesn't know how to do action. He doesn't, not really that great at comedy either. He's just a pretty bad director, if you ask me, and I don't know why he still keeps getting work. Because it's not like his track record is good enough to suggest that he should still keep getting offers. But hey, sometimes that's how it is in Hollywood. So, yeah, Shaft just looks like an absolute dumpster fire. Pet Sematary remake, I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. I really am not impressed with these trailers. I know there are other people who are. If you're looking forward to it and you think it looks great, that's fine. I have no issue with that. I personally just felt that these trailers, the more I kept seeing footage from this film, the less and less I wanted to see the movie. It looks bland. It looks dull. It's gray. There's no color. I understand the 1989 film also had some grayscale elements, but it did it in a way that was unique and it didn't seem like it just sapped all the color out of it. And it's one of those tropes right now with horror films. It really is. A lot of horror films, for some reason, seem to think that they need to put a grayscale filter over everything and just make everything gray and dingy and dark looking, and it just looks like a mushy mess in terms of cinematography. There are a lot of shots in this trailer also that look extremely fake because they look like they're shot behind a green screen, and some of them are just really frustrating because all it is just people standing in the woods. Why do you need to have CGI woods? You can't go in the woods and shoot scenes. You can't, because you're trying to have a certain atmosphere and fog. You can't rent a fucking fog machine? I mean, are we really at this point now where, whoa, let's make the fucking woods CGI and throw in some fucking CGI fog and shit, when you could just go to some actual woods at night, set up the right lighting, and have a fog machine? Like, tons of low-budget, independent films and filmmakers still manage to do this. How can a big-budget film not do this? I don't get it. I also don't feel the cast. I'm not feeling any of them. Jason Clarke, just comes across as a total block of wood to me. I don't see the genuine emotion in any of the scenes that I saw in the trailer from him compared to Dale Midkiff in the 1989 film. The switch of the dead kid going from being the baby to a, what is it, like an eight-year-old girl is not a very good switch. I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to be different, but it just isn't anywhere near as powerful because it's just some typical cliched cute little girl who's now zombified. It's not the same as a baby, as like a little kid, a very little kid who is brought back to life and is doing these sadistic, fucked up things. I love John Lithgow, but he honestly, he seems like he's bored in the trailer. I don't blame him, to be honest. I don't care if the Wendigo or the kids wearing the masks was in the book. It's a stupid idea, and it does not translate well in film. I'm sorry, it does not translate well at all. It's laughable. It's The Purge for kids. I mean, it's The Purge for kids. They're wearing fucking bunny masks and shit. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not scary. It's not particularly intriguing. And if the Wendigo was in the book, fine. It can stay in the book. Because if you ask me, the 1989 film did things better because it's like, no, we're not going to explain what this is. We're not going to over-explain the origins of everything, of why these people come back to life and so on and so forth. We're just gonna keep it a mystery. Let's say it was some Indian burial ground and leave it at that. And I like that. That's scarier to me than trying to explain it. There was one shot in the trailer I have to admit though was pretty decent, was they showed Zelda and it looked like they're doing it practically again, which I do appreciate. But other shots, I mean, even church, even the cat looks less striking visually. And I swear if the film does this where, oh, church is back to life and that's what causes the kid to get hit by the car, that's such a cliche. That's such a shitty. That's just such a. It's such. It's just turns one of the most effective and shocking death scenes in any film, if you ask me. The 1989 film with Kate Gage's death scene is so effective because it's so shocking and it's so sudden, and it's not expected. This is just predictable. This just makes it predictable because as soon as the dead cat shows up, all right, yeah, and then that's that's gonna be the distraction, and the kid's gonna get hit. I don't really care about the Pet Sematary remake. It was only made because it was a success. I guarantee it, and it just doesn't look visually that pleasing or visually that interesting, and I don't see why we need another one. Whether it's closer to the book or not, maybe not having the Wendigo and the Purge for kids was a good idea. I'm just saying. That's just my thoughts on Pet Sematary. Now, when it comes to the Child's Play remake, I surprisingly actually liked it. I like Aubrey Plaza being cast in a role that's different than the normal role that she's given. She's not playing a party girl. She's a mother. I like that. That's different. I like that choice. I think that's a really intriguing cast decision, and I always like those kind of things. I personally felt it looked really good visually from the lighting and from the cinematography. I like the fact that the kid's a little bit older and he can fend for himself. I like that aspect of it. It reminds me of the kid in Small Soldiers, and that makes sense because the plot is similar to Small Soldiers. Because instead of the doll being possessed by a serial killer, it's a I think it's a computer program. So it's a tech gone wrong, which I honestly don't mind that update. I don't. It's putting a spin on the old idea. I'd rather a remake do something like that, where it's trying to do its own thing, rather than just do the same thing and it's a different Charles Lee Ray and it's the same origin story as the first film. I'd rather it do its own thing, honestly. I don't have a problem with it being an older kid who finds wants a doll because it's the newest, latest tech and it works with his phone and everything. So, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. I don't think that's that unrealistic. I know some people feel that way, and that's fine. And overall, it looks like it's being done practically, which is a really nice sight to see. I like the scene in the end of the trailer where Aubrey Plaza is tied up. Chucky's got her tied up, and her son's got to save her. And it looks like it's taking place in a warehouse, which reminds me of Child's Play 2, which I really, really like. So yeah, the trailer really surprised me, and I love the use of the song. I thought the song that they chose was perfect for the plot and the footage that was on screen. And yeah, I mean, I'm curious about it. I was curious about it anyway because, to be honest, I don't give a flying fuck about Don Mancini's TV series. I'm sick and tired of Don Mancini taking all the credit for Child's Play. He still is not giving Tom Holland the credit he deserves for making the franchise what it is. I'm not saying Don Mancini had no part in it. He did. But he was not the father of Chucky. I'm tired of hearing that because he's not the single lone father of Chucky in Child's Play. His original script was a mess, and it had stuff in it that did not really click, and Tom Holland is the one who came in and rewrote it and made it into the Child's Play film that we all know and love today. It wasn't Don Mancini. He's not the one that did all of that. In fact, Don Mancini, if you ask me, as soon as he took over the franchise, with minor exceptions, like in Child's Play 2 and 3, is the reason why the franchise became such a fucking joke. So, yeah, I'm fine with a remake being made, and I'm glad that Don is pissed and he's throwing a hissy fit, because That means that someone else is getting a chance to give their take on this character and hopefully do it more justice than Dawn has done over the past decade or so. Because they're actually what? They're actually going to take Chucky seriously for once. It's nice to see that again. That's just me personally. Now we're getting to Disney remakes. Disney live-action remakes. Dumbo and Aladdin. I think what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to split this Talking Cinema up into parts. So this first part's just going to be all about trailers. And then I'll do a later part that's going to be about some movie news as well as some upcoming DVD and Blu-ray releases. Because I just don't want to be sitting here for an hour and a half. I don't think you want to watch me for an hour and a half either. So, Dumbo, that one looks, I guess, okay. Compared to Aladdin, it looks like a masterpiece. Because visually, it actually looks decent. And Dumbo, at least it's an animated film that was done in the past, just like The Jungle Book. So you can maybe make an argument for a modern day retelling or an update. But with Aladdin, no. Aladdin looks like ass. The CGI that was crapped on in the original film of the entrance to the treasure cave, it looks just as fake, if you ask me, in the teaser, and doesn't have any of the style or flair that the CGI one did. At least the CGI one had some style and flair to it. This just looks bland and boring. Not feeling any of the cast members in Aladdin, including Will Smith. I feel like he was only cast because of the meme that Sinbad was the genie in some genie movie that never actually existed. I mean, I don't get his casting. The CGI of him as the genie is atrocious, and Disney is rightfully getting raked over the coals for it, and for how poor this film looks. It looks bland, it looks boring, just like Beauty and the Beast did. Nothing about it looks like, wow, this looks magical, this looks amazing, this looks like an event film. And I feel the same way about Lion King. Why can't we just re-release the originals with some updated animation? Because they still hold up really great to this day. Both of them, Aladdin and Lion King. If you ask me, both of them are two of the best animated films of the 90s. We don't need an update. We don't need a live-action remake of The Lion King, which isn't even actually live-action, because 99.9% of it is CGI. We don't need a live-action remake of Aladdin either, because those have already been made. You do know, folks, that Aladdin is based on old folklore? Based on myths and legends? Arabian Nights? Does that ring a bell? Well, there have been plenty of live-action Aladdin adaptations that have come out before Disney's take on it. So it's not even necessary in that case, because it was done to death for so long that the reason why Disney probably went with the animated version is because that was something unique. That was something fun. That was something fresh. I really do hope that the people who downvoted that trailer speak with their wallets and don't see Aladdin. If you are sick and tired of Disney's lazy, half-assed, cash grab remakes of their animated classics, then don't pay to see them. Don't give them any money. If those films bomb, then Disney will be like, wow, okay, I guess people are tired of this. I guess the audience doesn't want this. But if they're hits and they make $1 billion, and all it takes is just one of them, folks. Well, I kind of want to see Lion King. Or I kind of want to see Dumbo. See, here's the problem. If you are like, Aladdin looks like shit, but the other ones I'm going to go see, then it defeats the purpose. Because if Aladdin underperforms, that doesn't mean anything to them. Because Disney can absorb that hit, no problem. But if Dumbo and Lion King are both big hits, especially Lion King, then they're just going to keep making these fucking remakes. I guarantee it. No matter how bad the reviews are for Aladdin, no matter how many people don't go to see it, no matter how big of a flop it is, it doesn't matter, because if Lion King makes $1 billion, that just shows to them that you still want more of that. Just watch. Watch this all unfold. It will unfold exactly how I am saying it will. I guarantee it. Because then you're going to have the Little Mermaid reboots. Live action remake. Followed by Pocahontas or some shit. It's going to happen. That's exactly how it's going to happen. Sticking with Disney, Frozen 2. Never saw the first one. Didn't really get the big craze about it. I saw a few clips. Didn't really do anything for me, so never went to bother to see the movie. And I don't care about Frozen 2. I bet your bottom dollar Disney does, because Frozen made a shit ton of money. So this is going to be another big hit for them. And films that aren't going to probably be as big of hits are movies that, to me, look more interesting. Like, for example, Ma. I did not see this coming. Octavia Spencer in a horror film where she's playing the lead and she's playing against type. Looks kind of interesting. You normally don't see an actress like her, and no offense, I'm not saying this is a racial thing or because she's heavyset or anything. You don't see an actress who's known for playing these type of characters that she's played before, where these loving, kind-natured characters, which she's played in a lot of films that she's been in. You normally don't see them cast in a horror film as the lead, as the psycho. So I like the casting choice. Plot wise, looks a little generic, but the casting choice alone has got me interested. And another film that I'm low key looking forward to is Long Shot. It's from the makers of Neighbors, which I really enjoyed. I like Seth Rogen. I like Charlize Theron. And the two of them had great chemistry in the trailer. Didn't look like it was going to be the funniest thing ever, but the chemistry between the two, that made it look like it was going to be worth at least one watch to me. But that's just me personally. It surprised me. I like the idea. I like that it's a new take on Pretty Woman in some ways. I like the fact that it has Charlize Theron be playing a Secretary of State who is a front runner for the presidency, and it's one of those things where that's kind of an old idea, but they're putting enough of a spin on it that it seems a little bit fresh. I appreciate that. It didn't seem like it was some feminist propaganda piece. I didn't really feel that way. It didn't feel like it was shoving any of that down my throat, which I appreciate a lot. So yeah, I'm low key looking forward to Long Shot. The other trailer that I want to mention real quick, and there's a couple more I want to talk about that are coming direct to video or to Netflix. The Hustle. This looks like a front runner for the worst film of 2019. It's bad enough already that this is a remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, but just with gender-swapped leads. But then the trailer plays, and it is just full of some of the most cringe-inducing attempts at comedy I've seen since Rough Night. This looks like it's going to be 2019's Rough Night. It's going to be a rough night for audience goers. I don't know what the hell the accent is that Anne Hathaway is trying to use. It doesn't sound authentic at all. Rebel Wilson is a void of talent and a void of comedy. I'm sorry. I've never seen her in anything where I was like, man, she's hilarious. I don't get her appeal. I don't understand it. I would take Amy Schumer over her. And I'm not kidding either. I really would take Amy Schumer any day of the week over Rebel Wilson, because she actually has some comedy chops. Not a lot, but she has some. Trainwreck was better than anything I've ever seen Rebel Wilson in. And Amy Schumer was funnier in that than I've ever seen Rebel Wilson in anything. So that's why I would say that Amy Schumer gets a slight nod over Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson is just another, oh look, I'm funny because I'm fat. I don't get it. She's the poor woman's Melissa McCarthy. I don't understand why she's getting all these big roles. Isn't It Romantic didn't do anything for me either. And it seemed like it didn't do that much for audiences either, because I don't think it did that great. It's just a retelling of Delirious. You remember that film with John Candy where he plays a writer who gets hit on the head and he ends up in the world of a soap opera? Well, and Isn't It Romantic? It's I don't know if she's a writer or not. I think she might be. She gets hit on the head and now she's in the world of a romantic comedy. So replace fat guy who's actually funny and legitimately charismatic and a legitimately good actor in John Candy. Replace him with a fat girl in Rebel Wilson who's not legitimately funny, not legitimately talented, and swap the soap opera plot for a romantic comedy. That's the only difference between the two. It's the same fucking movie, but the only difference is that it's a fat woman instead of a fat man, and it is in the world of a romantic comedy instead of a soap opera. Seriously, folks, go watch Delirious. It's such an underrated, hilarious John Candy film, and nowhere near enough people talk about it. And instead of going to see Innocent Romantic, go watch Delirious and enjoy yourself some prime John Candy. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on the films that are coming out in theaters. Now, there's a couple more trailers I want to talk about. For one, there's a Netflix animated anthology series, which is really catching my eye. And it's called Love, Death, and Robots. And David Fincher is attached to, as well as a bunch of other filmmakers. And it's a series of shorts. So it's a, shorts. It's a series of shorts, animated shorts that are cut together, kind of like heavy metal. I wonder if this was the heavy metal project that David Fincher was attached to at one point in time. I'm really curious about that. Because this seems kind of similar to something you'd see in heavy metal, with these different sort of shorts and animated vignettes. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks crazy. It looks like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. There is a film called Triple Threat that's going to be coming out in March that has Tony Jaa, the guy from The Raid. It's got Michael J. White. It's got a bunch of other martial artists. Looks like a pretty solid action flick. It's sad that Hollywood doesn't really give these types of films a chance. Doesn't release them in wide release. They don't release them in theaters. But shit like the fucking Hustle, that's going to get a wide release, but not Triple Threat. Which is really too bad, because just from the trailer alone, it's got more action and better action sequences than I've seen in most action films. Not from the Fast and Furious and John Wick and Mission Impossible franchise. So, yeah, looking forward to that. And Van Damme is doing a film called, I think it's called We Die Young. And he's playing a soldier who has PTSD, who decides to help out this young kid who's in a gang in Washington, D.C. I think it's played by the same kid who was in Sicario 2. And he's helping him get his younger brother out of the gangs. And so it's Van Damme versus Vatos. That's really what it is. Looks kind of generic, but I'm curious about it for Van Damme for his performance. I'm looking forward to Lucas. I hope a release comes out that has English subtitles for the French scenes, because there's a release out there that does not have subtitles for the French sequences, because it's a film that has a handful of scenes that are in French. But it also has a lot of scenes that are in English. So it's one of those weird movies where, like, you have a good chunk of the film that's in English, but then there's scenes that aren't. So if you don't have subtitles and you don't speak French, you're like, what the fuck are they saying? So I really hope that comes out on home video sometime soon with English subtitles for the French scenes. So those are the trailers that I wanted to talk about that were not coming out in theaters, and that's honestly all the trailer talk. That's all my thoughts on the truckload of trailers. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you later. See ya.